everybody. Welcome once again to Gaffing the Truth. My name is Jeff with a G, and as always, is my great and wonderful compatriot, Scabs the Clown. How's it going, Scabs?
It's going, man. How you doing?
Doing good. We had Austin kind of had a snow day yesterday, so I think my big excitement is because I work in a costume shop, and because it was so slow, we all took turns dressing in different sort of outfits
Hmm.
and then going out in the snow to get pictures. And so me and one of the other people, he dressed up like Han Solo in the Hoth costume, and I dressed up as Chewbacca. And we went out in the snow, so that was fun. We had some people do like the whole Frozen thing with all the different outfits there. Somebody dressed up like a polar bear. I mean, it was just a lot of fun because we had the all of ones, probably about 7 or 8 people total come into the store, and I think the only reason they came in is because there are three hotels within easy walking distance, and so they were just going, "We're bored." So anyway, that's been my excitement. Other than getting totally soused at the game show I started doing this past weekend, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. Uh, so what's been going on with you?
Oh, not much. I stayed in all weekend. Yeah, I mean, you got a snow day. I didn't. I got a slush day. It was just wet and rainy here and cold. So I stayed in. I cleaned up around the house. I did some painting. I was productive.
Uh, well, I get productive too, but it's just like all right here on the computer because I try to keep my house nice and tight. Although I have the next couple of days off, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see how weird and how crazy I get with stuff. So today for the gapping the truth is we always try to talk about some weird and wild stuff as far as conspiracies or rumors or whatnot, in addition to talking about things like cryptids and stuff like that. But today, I thought it would be fun to look back to when we were young and all those weird shows that we liked and any weird rumors and conspiracies involving said kids shows or cartoons because I figured that'd be amusing. And I know a lot of us fell for that shit when we were kids. So let's get started with that. Do
Yeah.
you have any?
Well,
You want? Let's start with you. What do you got?
yeah, I started with one just because it's actually pretty current, and I mean, it's not something that we grew up watching, but if you have any friends with kids, I'm sure you've heard about this show. After 20 years on the air, long-running PBS kids show Caillou has been canceled. PBS Kids made the announcement on Twitter, along with tips for parents on how to break the news to children. But it appears that many are cheering the decision and are happy to say goodbye to a series that they have complained has been teaching their kids bad habits. Caillou, which first premiered on PBS September 4th, 2000, centers on a precious boy and his family. The show ran for 5 seasons until 2010 when it went into syndication on PBS. It has long been the target of complaints by parents who claim the show taught their kids to be whiny and bratty, and social media erupted with several viewers celebrating the news of the cancellation. Have you ever seen the show or heard of the show?
I know of it. It's like a little bald head kid doing weird, goofy stuff. That's my understanding. So
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
why
like,
I know about it.
my brother. Yeah, my brother was dating a girl for a while who had a kid, and I'd be at my parents' house, and he'd be watching the show, and it was just like, God, that kid is annoying. He's whiny. He's bratty. It tries to teach lessons, but it was a terrible show. I didn't even have kids, and I only like caught bits and pieces of it here and there, and it was terrible. But yeah,
Um,
I just wanted to start with that one because it's pretty current.
okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's so yeah. If kids have like Caillou, get new kids.
Yeah, right.
um,
Just make a new one.
so I want to talk about a thing. So when I was a kid, like a little kid, up until fourth grade, from like kindergarten through fourth grade, I actually lived in Houston before I moved away. And one of the big, I remember this still distinctly, so much so that they even made announcements by the principal about this thing. And I find it fascinating. I thought it'd be a fun thing to talk about. So, what had happened was apparently also give time. Let me preface it that the timeline of this is early '80s. So let's say like 83, 82, 83, somewhere in that range.
Mm.
Uh,
I was born in
I
'84.
found, yeah, I found this information, but I figured I'd bring it up. So there was apparently there was a big gang that was really, really nasty and horrible who liked to dress in blue and called themselves the Smurfs that were terrorizing the neighborhoods. Uh, like vicious gangsters would basically go around tearing up stuff. Any kids that were wearing sky blue clothes were in danger. Uh, and so much so that it's all Aldine High School was like one that really had the high school Aldine school area district was really bad about it. And I think I might have been part of that. I don't know. I was a kid. I lived up in the Greenspoint area back when Greenspoint was nice ish. Uh, so much so that it said that things that the Smurfs are hiding in bathrooms and kids refuse to go to the bathroom. Um, all sorts of stuff. All sorts of Smurf gangs on like that. Basically, they said that all these the Smurfs would go around doing gang-like activities, everything like that. They would do these horrible gang initiations where they beat kids up until they were black and blue. And Smurfette was the toy to pass around stuff, whatever we thought that meant at the time. But I really remember this. I could pull up the information and stuff like that. Here's the fun thing. Of course, no such thing. Somehow it came a kids sort of stuff, but it was literally the thing is like I remember as a kid that the rumors ran so rampant one day that originally like at like 2 o'clock, the principal was on the PA going, "There is no such thing as the Smurfs gang." That's how pervasive that was. That the Smurfs were terrorizing Houston neighborhoods.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I just literally thought about this, and I went, "Oh yeah, let me pull some information about it." And so yeah, that's why some of the other stuff I did not know about. Apparently, there's a poster in the Spring Branch area that shows case like Smurfs are attacking kids in junior high bathrooms all over town, and Spring Branch was next. Um, Apparently, some
Spring
girl
Branch?
apparently, yeah, Spring Branch, yeah, because they're
Yeah,
doing
it's the
all
hood I
over
grew up
stuff.
in.
Yeah, I know. Of all places that might be true. In all cases that might be true.
Yeah.
Uh,
Back in the late '80s, early '90s, it was very it's not like it is now. It was back in the '80s and '90s. Like Spring Branch wasn't like the nice neighborhood it is now. Now it's part of the energy corridor, and they're like taking down all the old neighborhoods and building up nice houses. But back then, like gangs ran rampant. I remember people getting like beat up and murdered over like Dallas Cowboy shirts because that was America's team, and people were stealing shirts off kids' backs.
but I just thought it was a fun thing to start out with, and that one's completely like I had like literally as like I had other stuff pulled up, and I just thought of it right before we came on. I was like, oh yeah, that whole rumor about like the Smurfs gang that when I was a kid, and I thought that I tried to pull up what information I could, which believe it or not, there's not a lot of information other than like a couple of articles saying remember when this happened sort of stuff, and I go, but yeah, it's one of those kind of fun things. What else? What other weird kid stuff do you have?
Well, here, go for another one because my computer's acting stupid right now, and it's not working.
Okay, let's talk about Mr. Rogers, everybody's favorite person growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Taught you how to be a good person, like genuinely a good person. Wasn't really overly preachy. It just made you feel good.
Yeah.
Um, so there are a couple of rumors that came to be concerning Mr. Rogers. One is that the reason he did Mr. Rogers was the condition of his prison sentence for parole because he was a sex offender because he was playing with kids. It was a good idea to have him teach kids on the good things about life. That is not true. Uh,
Yeah.
Number, yeah, obviously. Uh, my favorite one is the fact is they say that the reason he does Mister Rogers is to counteract what his really was that supposedly back in like the Korean War or Vietnam or something, uh, Mister Rogers was actually a badass sniper and had like hundreds of kills. And so, as to help exercise the demons, as it were, he began to basically turn that new leaf. He became a kid show host and taught people to be good and patient and uh,
I've heard that
pacifistic
one
and whatnot.
before. Like, I mostly I heard he was in the Navy, and
Well, yeah,
that was the reason he wore long sleeve like sweaters all the time, is because he was just covered in Navy tattoos all over his arms.
that was another one. Yeah,
But I think the real truth is, wasn't he actually like a preacher or something?
I think no, actually, believe it or not, no, I don't think he was really, but he was a. He did have a musical background because he did have a bachelor's degree in music, and he actually was like basically he's like back in the 50s. He actually worked as like a producer for TV shows until one day he goes, you know what, I have an idea for a show, and made his own show. He may have been doing stuff with his church, but I don't think he was ever officially a part of a church person. So
Hmm.
but it's one of the. But it doesn't surprise me that he. My guess is he's probably if he was in church, it's probably like an alderman or something like that. But I remember watching Mister Rogers as a kid. And I liked his
Yeah.
messages. I liked his messaging and stuff like that. I didn't. His delivery was not what I liked. But I was still fine with it. I mean, and apparently, the other rumor is fact is he was all kid stuff like that is because he had a character on the show called Mister McFeely, who was the person who ran the speedy delivery
Mr.
messenger
McFeely.
service. Well, yeah, which everybody goes, well, McFeely, he's got to be McFeeling kids. Um, Actually, it's because Fred Rogers, Mister Rogers' middle name is McFeely because that was his grandfather's, like I guess his grandfather's name, his last name. So his name was Fred McFeely Rogers.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's one of those weird kind of stuff that going, huh? It's just really interesting. Um, let's see. So yeah, said okay, of course, Fred Rogers never showed the military because he was never in the military, so he had no tattoos. Um, and then of course there's the infamous, flipping people off. Fred Rogers flipping people off. The reason that happened was it wasn't technically flipping off. He was doing "Where Is Thumpkin," the song "Where Is Thumpkin, Where Is Thumpkin," and just going through the fingers.
Yeah.
And there is the ring. Where is like ringy or whatever. So it's one of those. It wasn't that he was trying to flip. It just how the hands work. But yeah, Fred
Yeah.
Rogers been TV forever, so never in the military. So one, I mean, he might have had tattoos, but he didn't get it from the military. Uh,
Yeah.
50, but the 50s, 60s, it's unlikely he did tattoos because tattoos wasn't a thing unless you were, in, unless you're a fucking sideshow carny trash
Yeah.
or in the military, you didn't really get tattoos.
Yeah. It makes sense. I still need to watch the movie, but I don't know. I just don't feel like crying.
That's fair. Everybody's going, well, it's not, it's not really, it's like, everybody goes, well, yeah, but, he isn't the main actor. I go, well, no, that's not what the movie's about the guy who met Mr. Rogers and his relationship with him. It's about this dude who interacts with Mr. Rogers, not the other way around. But no, it's
Yeah.
beautiful day with Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers, which is duh. I mean, that's just who else are you going to get to play Mr. Rogers other than Tom Hanks?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so that's what I got. What else? What do you got?
Um, I was actually never really into this. Hang on, let me see where it go. So you remember the Rugrats?
I do.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little after my time. I've watched a couple episodes. It's a cute show. It's fun. I mean, I was never like super into it. Watched it religiously every Saturday morning. But Angelica, the older daughter,
Yeah.
or the older sister rather, the Rugrats Angelica is the only one who can talk to the babies because they are a figment of her imagination. She is spoiled, sad, and lonely because her mother is constantly working and has no time for her. Let's see. So, how did it come about that Angelica would have to imagine these babies? Tommy died soon after childbirth, a fact reflected by Stu never leaving the basement, inventing toys that his son will never play with. Chucky died in the car crash along with his mom, also reflected in the actions of his father. The crash has made him pathetic, nervous wreck for most of the time. Most interesting is Phil and Lil. There never were any twins. There was just one baby. However, this baby was a stillborn, and Angelica never knew the sex of the stillborn, so she invented twins of different genders.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that theory before, and I think somebody's reaching pretty hard with that one, but it is pretty dark. And watching the show, I mean, they're right. The adults very rarely interact with the other children. Uh, it's a big imagination show, so yeah.
I've watched the show a few times, and sometimes on less than, we'll call it, sober circumstances. Uh, and weirdly, it's enjoyable that way. Actually, that's a fine. Most of the proper those like what '90s, early 2000s Nickelodeon kid shows uh, were surprisingly, while they were kid shows, they still held things going on that would appeal to adults, and so that was kind of cool. Until eventually they just went either one way or the other, or they still did one way or the other. Like things like Rugrats was designed to be mostly for kids, but if parents watched it, they wouldn't want to shoot themselves. So having a thing about, oh yeah, no, Angelica is like totally, this is like her psychotic break. Uh, that actually makes it really more enjoyable. I may watch some Rugrats later from that perspective. Going,
Oh
oh
man,
yeah. Were you aware of a show called Candle Cove?
Candle Cove. That sounds really familiar. I
So
couldn't. Is it a pirate show?
yes, it is.
Okay, God, that is so familiar. I don't. I probably watched it at some point as a child, but I mean, it's also kind of like those vague memories I have of the Ghostbusters, where there's like a gorilla and stuff.
Well, the Ghostbusters gorilla was a thing that happened. It was the
Yeah, no,
Ghostbusters, the original
yeah, the real
Ghostbusters. Yeah,
Ghostbusters came out, and it was after the movie Ghostbusters.
yeah. And then the original Ghostbusters was based off of a show from the '60s, which had a gorilla.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, no, Candle Cove. Yes, it is about a pirate and a ship and doing sort of stuff. And it's really interesting that you remember the show because it's not real.
Weird.
It's a fucking creepypasta. But like some dude put it on the creepypasta site, but it got so pervasive that people kind of thought it was real. It became this weird Mandela effect. Now, probably why you're thinking you saw it is because um, Sci-Fi ran a series called Channel Zero for a while, and the first season uh, did a thing about Candle Cove as part of the season, along with like some other creepypastas that got added into it, which was a lot of fun. Channel Zero is like a really weird, crazy show because that one dealt with Candle Cove, the Tooth Monster slash Fairy, and like one other, like just like, but it created like 8 episodes where it tied all these things together in this really, like, the way they built it was in such a way that you're just watching it always feeling on edge, which I really liked it. And so it was a good show. And then like the next season was with the house that's bigger on the inside than the outside and weird shit like that too. So it was fun. But
I'm probably
yes,
thinking of like some other pirate cartoon that was short lived. Who knows?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot. But that was Candle Cove was supposed to be like puppets versus, but it was about pirates. So that's really interesting. It's
No,
about pirates. I go, yeah,
trust me, I would remember a pirate puppet show.
yeah. No, pirates. You're thinking Pirates of Dark Water. You're thinking a cartoon, most likely.
I do
Uh,
remember vaguely Pirates of Dark Water.
that was a good show. I really liked that
Yeah,
a lot.
that one was
No
like
Age
kind
of
of a
Cod.
that was that awesome '80s art too, like Thundercats and He-Man and stuff, where it was like very
Oh
detailed,
yeah,
hand drawn.
it's like I would say I equate it more like Thundar, the Barbarian, or Goldar the Barbarian, that sort of stuff. But it's
Mm,
a little bit later in period. Um, it's like a really good show, and like Hector Elizondo, the actor that's been like a million things.
yeah, one of my
Was one
favorite
of the
forgotten
voices.
cartoons was a Toxic Crusader.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it wasn't the Toxic Avenger; it was just a cheap knockoff. And then there was also a Conan the Adventurer, not Conan the Barbarian.
That was Conan the Adventurer because that definitely fell in the line with like Thundar and Gold. Like so, there was like when I was a kid, so back in the early '80s, there was like they had Thundar the Barbarian, which was if I remember correctly, was all post-apocalyptic. Like a comet comes through, breaks the moon in half, which causes the tides to rise and gets all wonky, and so the world gets decimated. Then fast forward like 100, 200 years, and you get like post-apocalypse. So it's like basically it's taking a post-apocalypse with medieval fantasy and mashing it up.
Hmm.
And so also like oh yeah, then so it gets all crazy because like lots of weird mutants and stuff happen because bombs went off because the world went crazy. And then Goldar, I just remember Goldar, which I think Goldar was the knockoff of Thundar, but I don't remember. I just remember Goldar existing. I don't remember anything about it.
I remember Goldar from Thundercats, or not Thundercats, from Power Rangers.
Oh, that's later.
Yeah, and then there was the resurgence in the apparently in the new Wonder Woman movie
I
because
guess
Wonder
so.
Woman dressed like Goldar.
That is true, yeah. And the acting's just as good.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't even seen the first one. I
First
mean,
one is
nothing
like
against Wonder Woman or anything. I'm just not really a movie person.
that's fair. I do like movies. And I like comic book movies. I Wonder Woman 1984 is a really great hour and a half, hour 40 movie that's trapped in a 2.5 hour movie.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
that's pretty much what I heard about it. People were like, it'd be great if they got rid of like an hour of it.
yeah, it's like there's some serious trimming they should have done, and I did not agree with how like the third act needed to get almost completely rewritten. But that's just me. What do I know? Even though they got certified rotten, like it did not. It was like a weird kind of goes. It was actually a Warner Brothers best interest to release it streaming versus in the theaters. So,
Wow.
but yeah, back to everything. Candle Cove. I'll even go finish out with why people thought it. Candle Cove was watching on channel 58 when they were kids, and as I continue to remember this, I'm recalling more. People have talked about this. They said, "Remember me a character called the Skin Taker, which was a skeleton pirate who wears clothing made out of children's skin." And there was an episode supposedly of just puppets flailing,
Puppets Planet?
playing, just
Oh.
flailing, like going
Uh,
for like an hour. Just kids going, just all these puppet kids are going.
I'd watch an hour-long show of puppets flailing. Hell,
Well, the
I'd
other thing
make
is
an
like,
hour-long show of
yeah.
puppets flailing. I have considered getting into puppetry. Puppetry, I don't know, it just seems
I love.
fun.
I've been thinking about it too. I thought about it too. And the end of the story talks about like they're going, hey, like when they go back to talk to their mom, hey mom, do you remember this watch show I used to watch? They're going, no, but I do remember you watching like static for hours on end. Like adults couldn't see the show, that
We
sort of
used
stuff.
to take our, this is really, old school. We used to take a VHS tape and put it in the VCR and record our favorite cartoons so we could watch them later. So,
Oh yeah.
like, we had just hours and hours and probably days worth of, just VHS recordings of, Thundercats and Ghostbusters and Garfield and Heathcliff and even like, Family Dog. Do you remember that, short film?
Family Dog. It lasted, yeah, because it was on Amazing. Because it was on a
Yeah,
network,
Amazing
Amazing
Stories.
Stories, and
Yeah.
then it lasted like one season because it was a prime time show, but it only lasted like maybe 6 or 7
No,
seasons.
there was one episode, and then later on
Yeah,
they tried to come out with a series that was really short lived.
yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, like it came with, it was the first. It was an episode on Amazing Stories, and it rated really well. So they said, "All right, cool, we'll make a series out of it." And it lasted maybe 6 episodes.
Yeah, it wasn't that great. I remember it because I loved
But yeah,
Family Dog growing up. Family Dog was, great. And then we had
yeah,
like the Peanuts Christmas special and Rudolph and like Garfield Halloween and random other Halloween like TV specials from like TNT and
yeah.
CBS and shit. Just a bunch of random shit that I kind of wish I still had. If I could find a VCR and pop those old VHS tapes in, and because we recorded the commercials too. 80s commercials, early 90s commercials are great.
Oh no, we've discussed this before off air or like on other shows about the craziness of those old commercials. Um, I think I even did tech on one of those shows. You and Tifa talking about it because I kept throwing commercials on everybody. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's see. What time is
I got one. It's a really short one,
Sure.
but like
Yeah, yeah.
it's something I never really thought of before. It's just another one of those theories. The original Scooby Doo series is set after a horrible economic depression. Everything is abandoned and falling apart, and all the villains are people who would normally be respected, like professors, museum curators, celebrities, like that. And uh, respect people who are normally respected who have fallen into hard times just like everyone else. How many times have the gang helped someone not go out of business?
That shit is always somebody having problems.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
always
gonna
some
lie.
kind of like
Yeah.
weird money scam or something. And like it's just these kids going, hey, let's see who you really are, mister, and like just ruining these people's plans in sending them to prison because they were trying to protect a dilapidated warehouse for some reason.
Uh, yeah. Or it's always the broken down. Like amusement park or regular park or whatever, uh, or some sort of thing, and then some rock and roll ghost would come in and try to stop stuff or whatever. That was my favorite one. Was the rock and roll ghost, uh, who looks like some weird mashup of like Gene Simmons's demon and like a clown,
God.
or like Gene Simmons's demon, because that kind of looks like a clown and a demon put together, anyways. Uh, But yeah, no, it doesn't surprise me. That's an easy. Also, when it was released at the time, we were kind of in an economic downturn, so that makes sense. Just,
Yeah, here
it was
another really
it,
short one that just
yeah,
another
sure.
really short one really quick. Um, the existence of SpongeBob and his friends is the result of radiation from nuclear arms testing that was performed on the Bikini Atoll in the late 40s and early 50s. Since they live under the atoll, the town is known as Bikini Bottom.
That would explain a sentient sponge, or
Yeah,
mostly sentient. It is SpongeBob after all. Uh,
yeah. I've never been a fan of SpongeBob. It was I guess I was a little too old to get into it.
it was never my gig either. Although Tom Kenny, the guy who does the voice for SpongeBob, is actually a really good comedian, and he actually came up with Bobcat Goldthwait together, including as Bobcat, and Tom was actually Tomcat when they first started doing stuff together. And then they had another friend who I don't remember that cat stuff, but it's like Tom came up together with them. Tom and Bobcat both came up together in the comedy scene because they both from the San Francisco area. Weird fact, I know. But he's really funny because I like back when Titanic came out, he goes, "Oh, Titanic! It's really weird. It's really because I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it. Then I realized that Titanic is just Star Wars for girls. Then I got it, and I went, shit. That like at the time I was going, shit. That's true. I
Yeah,
was like,
fuck. I'm
yeah,
just sitting here thinking about it now. Like, yep.
Yeah, no, you're just going, yep, that is. No, like, well, at the time, I was dating this girl who, like, was obsessed with Titanic. I probably saw that movie, like, 6 or 7 times in the theater because she kept wanting to go. And I went, you're sleeping with me, so I guess I'm going to the movie. Uh, I'm fine. I'll go see movies. Yeah, like and it's like there's enough of it I liked well enough. So I go, all right, cool. This time after the second time I just started paying attention to certain aspects of it. I go, all right, let's see how the effects last up this particular episode. All I just pay attention to effect shots, or all I just pay attention to that sort of stuff because being going to school for theater and film, I kind of pay attention to that stuff anyways. But now I got to really just kind of go. Now I'm going to go pay like I'm just gonna beeline and all that stuff. So I know the background and looking at how that stuff looks, and it holds up for the most part because Cameron's good at it, but it's just the story just sucks.
Yeah.
Billy Zane's awesome as a villain. That's the only thing I really and I like Leonardo DiCaprio well enough, but it's one of those I go,
Yeah. I saw the movie fairly. I saw it when it came out, and it's a I guess second showing because we didn't go to regular theaters. I saw it in the Dollar Theater with like my uncle, my siblings, and some other people. And I mean, I didn't really appreciate it at the time until the end. You know, when like after they hit the iceberg, that's when the movie starts getting good for like a 13, 14-year-old boy. So I don't know. I've been meaning to give it another rewatch just to see, but I still think I'm just gonna be like up until the end.
that's basically what I went with. I go, okay, well I've seen it. And it's like I have no desire because I can all but quote that fucking movie. And I think even still now I could probably watch and still do. And it's been probably that movie's over 20 years old, so I probably haven't seen it in 20 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, I was fuck. If it came out over 20 years ago, then yeah, I was probably about 13, 14 when it came out, and I
Yeah.
most for the most part didn't give a shit about it. It's like there was a sex scene in a car, and then a bunch of people died. That's all I really remember from it. Oh, and then that dude grabbing that kid and going, "This is my son," and getting on a lifeboat. That's about it.
Eh,
But that's the whole movie, right?
that's basically what the movie is, and basically this old lady trying to con people to say that she didn't have a thing when she had a thing.
Yeah, and then paint me like one of your French girls, and she like threw some jewelry in the ocean because she's stupid.
Yes, because she's trying to returning the heart back into the water because even though she could well, one of the things like it's that whole like the whole reason why people were in the like tracking going finally finding the wreckage was because they were looking for that. And they're like, oh yeah, I found the wreckage. And then it goes, hey, this thing's supposed to still be down there, which is worth tens of millions of dollars. And then they
Yeah,
found out
right.
just the story and yada yada yada. Um, it's just one of those. I mean, it's cool with the background and stuff like that, and then I don't know, just I might rewatch it at some point. I know that what's her name? The Kate Winslet is tired of fucking talking about that movie. So
Oh, I'm sure.
I think Leo like capped it off real quick. Like she was nice and polite because she's British, going, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll talk about it." But after a
I
decade
know
or so, like
she's.
Leo,
I don't know if she's anywhere near Han Solo level though.
no, it's not. But even
Yeah, when
I think
Harrison Ford gets asked any questions about Star Wars, he's over it. One of my favorite quotes is somebody asked him like, "So, do you think Han Solo became a Force ghost?" And he looks at him and goes, "I don't know what a Force ghost is, and I don't give a fuck."
but that's one of the things I don't know if that's actually. I think it's also kind of become his thing to kind of just play that role. So I don't know how much of it's him like really not caring, or he's just like relishing in the fact that I get to fuck with people and they just accept it now.
Yeah, I mean, but he's been at this for a long time.
Well, I know it, but I think it's a
Like
lot.
he
I think
wasn't even supposed to be in the movie. He was like, he was
the last
helping
one.
build the set.
All right, so Star Wars. Okay, so wait. Let's get into the Star. I can talk to Star Wars shit too. Uh, actually, that's not true exactly. For Star Wars. Uh, Harrison Ford was in American Graffiti, which was George Lucas's first film, and so when George was casting for Star Wars, he wanted fresh faces nobody worked with before was the idea. And so he called his friend Harrison really just to read against people until he found a Han Solo. I guess, all right, cool. I guess I haven't found a Han Solo yet. Hey, Harrison, can you do me a favor and just read with these people so that way I have somebody play. They have somebody play off of. And eventually got to the point where like George just goes, yeah, nope, he's Han. But like there were a lot of people who tested for that role. Famously, people like Christopher Walken was, was one of the big ones.
Man, Walken would have been like a fucked up Solo.
That was well. Don't get this is 70s Walken, so this is like Deer Hunter era, like Head and her sisters sort of. Yeah, it was like
Leia would be like, "I love you," and he'd be like, huh, "I know."
yeah, it's a good thing you love me. Just
Yeah, I know. See, I could feel it. I love you too, but I'm not going to say it back.
yeah,
Han
it's just
Solo's too cool for that.
yeah. No, it's just like I said, Kurt Russell also did it at the time. Billy D. Williams, because they hadn't chosen, they wouldn't do race, so Billy D. Williams was on the block for that.
And I do love me some
And
Colt 45.
well, I think probably Billy D. doing that additional thing is probably got him cast to play Lando later. But yeah, no, it's well, both of us. We might do a Star Wars one at some point because I know we're both
Yeah,
huge
he
Star
was
Wars
actually
nerds.
Billy D. Williams. He still has a contract with Star Wars. I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but like I don't know if he has a or not with Star Wars with Colt 45. I don't know if they
I,
just own his likeness or not, but like maybe like 5 years ago, I bought a Colt 45 because it had Billy D. Williams on it.
I would do that too. I mean, like the it's not. Well, I mean, like it's cheap. It'll get you drunk, I guess. But
Yeah. I mean, it's malt liquor. It is what it is.
yeah, it is what it is. I prefer my liquor being whiskey. And right before you guys before we got online to get off slightly off track is because I don't go out and do things other than work and grocery shop. So I love the modern age where I can give you things like get liquor delivered. And so
Mm-hmm.
I mean I can go to the corner shop and get beer, but I opted to go with I got another bottle of whiskey, and then Knob Creek has a pre-made old fashioned, and
I've
it's
had
really
it
good. I mean,
actually. It's not bad.
it's actually I mean it's pretty solid, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I mean
it's
they had
mixed.
it like
It has a good
they had it
mix.
as a promotion I think at the liquor store by my place and it was like I don't know like $10 for a bottle of it and I was like fuck it, why not?
Yeah, see, I was $10 for this thing. It's good. It's like a good three drinks out of it. So
Yeah.
I'm on board. That's cheaper than if I bought an old fashioned with a Knob Creek old fashioned at any place I went to. So it's a good deal.
Yeah. Speaking of old fashioned, Garfield is actually dying of starvation and just imagining John and Odie. There was a
Okay.
reference to this in a Halloween themed comic. Garfield woke up in a condemned and abandoned house. He calls out for Odie and John, but there is no answer. He then wills the illusion back on himself and continues his delusions about his family. So he's just a cat in an abandoned house who's just kind of like gone crazy and imagine John and Odie. Hates Mondays, loves lasagna. He wakes up from his delusion, has a moment of clarity and then goes, nope, going back.
So basically, he's running like basically he's Shutter Islanding his life.
Yeah, pretty much.
Spoiler alert! But that movie's been out over 10 years, so it's a good movie though. I was like, I mean, it's like a weird. Okay, at some point, that's what happened. Garfield, up to a point, was like Garfield. I ate Mondays, lasagna, and then woke up
Yeah.
in a house, and basically everything else is a fever starvation dream until he dies. No, it's like no, it's I go. Well, it's not. Well, it's still on. So at least the comic is still going on. So at least I think. Sound like Calvin and Hobbes. All right, we got about 20 minutes left. Let's talk about Barney,
Yeah.
Barney the dinosaur. I love you, you love me,
Yeah.
sweet oh bestiality. Um,
With a great big punch and a kick from me to you.
so some of the stuff that comes out of Barney is, for one, um, that let me find the thing that starts. That the one of the an actor that was one of the actors within, actually I'm going to tell a couple of different stories involving the actors within the Purple Dinosaur. Uh, one of them supposedly was caught with cocaine hidden in the tail, like a couple of kilos, that sort of
Hidden
thing.
in the tail.
And here we go. Let me finish. So the kid. So it's collected from email saying the kid that I babysat we're sitting around the table, saying that Barney, the purple dinosaur, was busted for cocaine in his tail. The children report that someone found drugs in Barney's tail. He was trying to give them to children in the show, and that the actor who played him was fired because he swore at a child also who stepped on his tail. Um, So yeah, so it's covered. Police uncovered a cache of illegal drugs secreted into the rotund dinosaur's tail, um, and sort of like that. And so that's a very popular one that came up to be. Um, that specific thing is not true. However, probably the reason this came into play is because back in 1998, drug safety dogs detected 2 pounds of cocaine hidden in a talking Barney doll that was trying to be shipped from Texas to Minnesota. So while cocaine was in a tail, not in an actor's tail, and apparently, that was the Barney toy was actually a fairly common way to smuggle drugs and then get busted. But kids don't understand the idea between toys and actors, so that's why they said, no, Barney totally did this. Didn't do it, but and then the whole swearing. Barney is swearing on a tape and stuff like swearing at kids. It's
Uh,
not true. If only because one is the voice of Barney is not the same as the actor of Barney. So
yeah.
even if the off chance that the tail was hit and stuff like that, there's no tape of it because that's wouldn't be recorded. But there's been nothing uh, about that sort of stuff because they never might. Other popular rumors is that one of the Barneys was also a child molester and playing, once again, just like Mr. Rogers, is playing the part as part of his sentence because that makes sense. Because Barney was around kids. Let's put a child molester in a plush outfit and then hang out with kids.
Yeah.
Um, Supposedly, one of the actors also murdered a child and was jailed for his crime. And one of them actually committed suicide and supposedly killed himself in a suit,
Killed himself what?
wearing the suit.
Oh
So
wow.
basically, this is like you wear the costume, and then I like the one I heard was like fact is he offed himself as like hanging himself. So it's just like wearing just big Barney just swinging in the wind.
Man.
It's Barney.
Yeah. Oh man.
Um, so that show is vile and probably did more to harm children than anything, but none of that's true. If it were true, I would fucking love that show.
Yeah.
There's some drugs in the Barney's tail. Why am I not watching this show?
Yeah, right. I mean, I remember as a kid, I had one year, my mom always made birthday cakes for us. She has all kinds of cake pans and everything. and she took this dinosaur cake pan and turned it, made a purple dinosaur, made Barney because it was like a T-Rex, and then took a butcher knife, stuck it through his neck like he was being decapitated, and then just put red icing all over it, just a headless Barney for my birthday cake. So that was fun. And I used to have a T-shirt that said, it had like a T-Rex on it with a purple tail coming out of its mouth, and it said, "I loved Barney." I remember like hating Barney for some reason. And I was like in middle school. Probably because I was subjected to it because I had siblings.
No, I was too old. By the time Barney came around, I was already well out of school and stuff like that. So like the stuff when I was a kid watching stuff was the all the weird '80s stuff. I did have a niece who had a Teddy Ruxpin doll that I used to play with the tape of, like doing
Yeah,
things like put the
we
tape
used
in
to
with
put
"Hi,
like
I'm Teddy."
we used to put like Slayer tapes in my friends' brothers like Teddy Ruxpin. So just play Slayer again.
No, no, I did things like, "Hello, I'm Teddy Ruxpin. I'm possessed by the devil."
Yeah.
Hello, therapy.
You want to do a really quick one before we get out of here?
Yeah, let's do a quick one. Then we'll do our plugs.
Yeah.
And
Uh, Inspector Gadget is actually the second Inspector, built as a completely robotic replacement after the first was lost in action. Upon return, he became Dr. Claw. He was loaded with his old memories, and nobody would have been the wiser except that the original Inspector Gadget didn't actually die. Upon returning from whatever disaster caused his bosses to give up on him as KIA and now horribly disfigured, he discovers his replacement living his life, even with his dog and raising his niece. The original Inspector snaps and vows to devote the rest of his life to the destruction of the ungodly replacement. He disavows everything he once knew and loved.
that's an amazing story that I would totally be on board for.
Yeah.
That's a
it's one of
nice
those
twist.
That's one of those, like, it's kind of a reach, but at the same time it's a really good twist. I just read that one and I was like, yeah, that sounds good.
I would watch the shit out of it if I knew that was the case. That's
Mm-hmm.
good, like almost like Shakespearean level of just pathos, which is far more too much credit for an '80s
Mm-hmm.
cartoon. Far, far too much credit for an '80s cartoon. But yeah, no, I used to watch that when I was a kid. Inspector Gadget. That was one of the because it was that was an afternoon cartoon versus a morning cartoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to love Inspector Gadget.
Because all right, show you kids today. Back in the day, basically it's like the I guess by mid late '90s, earlier. During the week, there were early morning cartoons, and then there were afternoon cartoons. They're almost all syndicated and stuff like that, but that's how people watch things like Transformers, uh, Thundercats, GI Joe, etc. Inspector Gadget. But what's interesting is that usually the morning cartoons tend to be, I don't want to say kid driven, but it's more family friendly. So I would be more likely to watch shows very more similar to things like Tom and Jerry or Looney Tunes and stuff like that in the morning. And the afternoon was dedicated to the more, I don't say adult, but like the more teenage driven stuff. So
Mm.
you're more likely to watch the RoboCop cartoon or the Rambo cartoon and things like that in the afternoon versus the morning. And then Saturdays, all the three major networks, back when they used to have their own cartoon stuff and have their own shows.
Yeah, it was
And
Fox, the
no,
WB, and
not
UPN.
no. I'm talking about
That was
NBC,
my era.
ABC, CBS. Yeah, NBC, CBS. Like
Yeah,
Fox.
NBC,
Eventually,
CBS
when
still
they
had stuff when I was a kid, but like they had the dumb cartoons I didn't want to watch. They were the more educational ones. I wanted to
that's true.
watch
That's what.
like Tiny Toons and fucking like Thundercats and Ghostbusters and shit.
Well, Thundercats already been around for a while, so you're watching the rerun stuff, and that was more syndicated. Not even on this show; those were syndicated. Like they weren't even part of those blocks. But yeah,
Oh, I
um,
know. Yeah. I mean, I think Thundercats came out like before I was born.
I was mid '80s. I was probably Well, I think you were born then. You were just too young to appreciate because I was like mid late '80s, if I
Yeah, I mean,
remember
I was born
correctly.
'84, and I
So
want
it
to
was
say
like
Thundercats
86,
came out
87.
like '83, '84, but I
It
remember
was
like,
like about 85. It was like 86, 87.
okay, well, then still, yeah, I fucking love Thundercats.
I never really got big into it just because I think it was like for me when I was growing up, it was opposite something else I liked watching. So it was never. I think weirdly enough, I think it was opposite Transformers or Transformers. So I never watched it because
Oh yeah, I mean, I
fucking
watched Transformers
Transformers.
too. Transformers is
But
why I stopped believing in going to church and religion and stuff.
that's fair. I mean, no, it's but the thing is like because those things are syndicated, so depending on what market you're in, depending on who bought them and when you saw stuff. So for
Hmm.
me, I think yeah, like I want to say like Thundercats was I think against like Transformers. I think I don't remember. I used to have a really good head as far as figuring out when shows were on because I was very real. I could go play sports or I could watch TV, and I watch TV.
Yeah,
And like
and
we got the TV guide every week, and I would sit as soon as it came in, I would read the entire thing to see when shows were happening, so that way I planned my week around it.
yeah, and then later on after cartoons, uh, this was more, I guess, like early '90s. That's when wrestling came on. Right after
Well, let's see.
Saturday morning
Oh, that's
cartoons.
Saturdays. Yeah, because that was the last thing Saturdays was that you watch cartoons till like 10 or 11, like till like 10, like between 10 and 11 is usually when cartoons end, and 11 o'clock in the morning would be wrestling.
WCW usually. I want to say it was
Well, for
WCW.
it was for Saturdays it was like the WWF Superstars, which is like their that wasn't even their premiere show. It was like, all right, cool. Here's
Hmm.
the stars just running squash jobs, but that's when it played. And so that's I always watched it too, and that's for WWF. And then I lived in the North Texas, I lived in North Texas, and so
Hmm.
which is WCCW, which is where the Ron Erics came from, and that was always Saturday nights
Hmm.
because I would watch that. I would watch that from that, and then Doctor Who every week because that's how it works. Is like WC. I think it was like 9 o'clock when you get 9 or 10 o'clock. You can watch that, and then like 11 o'clock when Doctor Who was on PBS, and so that was my Saturdays until I discovered Girls.
Do you remember that? Fuck, I knew the name of it at one point, but it was like a martial arts show, and it was like a kind of like a game show, but then they had like a obviously staged plot behind it, and it was basically live action Mortal Kombat without the names.
There have been a couple that have tried that. Battle Dome happened on UPN for a bit, which is kind of like that. That's where Terry Crews got his start. Um, and then I think I remember the thing you're talking about because it was God damn it! Like I do have a remembering of that too. I just what
Yeah,
it
and like
basically
it
was.
wasn't very blatant until like later on. Like I remember like one time like something epic happened and a new fighter jumped in and he was basically Scorpion.
Yeah, because basically it was they took basically they go Mortal Kombat meets like American Gladiators
Yeah, that's pretty
show.
much what it was. And then like,
Yeah,
between fights it was very staged, very, yeah.
because the battles were more realistic. But yeah, they'd have more plot. I'm gonna see if I can find this
Yeah, I
wrestling
mean, they
match.
were definitely martial artists. Like,
I'm gonna see if there's. I mean, I'm using that Mortal Kombat meets American Gladiators to see if that because basically it's what it is. I'm talking about it because fuck it. I just nothing I can see offhand. Everything's. I'll have to track it down, but I have some vague memory of it.
yeah, like I have a very vague memory of it. I remember watching it all the fucking time, but I don't remember shit about it.
Well,
Except
it's like
one dude kind of looked like Liu Kang, and then another dude kind of looked like Kung Lao. Well, no, not even
What the
really.
whole like I'm even getting like as we're talking about, I'm even getting more clear because like now I'm thinking about it, it's even more blatant. It's really becoming more and more blatantly
Yeah, it's
Mortal
like
Kombat because
Shaolin fighting or something. Like it's
but
got
it
like,
was like the fact is like they use a dragon as their main emblem too, and
yeah,
that's for the
yeah.
show. And it's like
It
I'm
was
having more and more memory
wannabe
of it.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, but it's like the fights were mostly real, so but also kind of wrestling-ish. So yeah, I know I'm gonna have to I'll have to think about it more to try to jog the memory, see if there's something like
Yeah,
that gives me like that extra little thing. I can go, it had such and such, so like that way I can use that as a deep hole to track it down. I don't know.
yeah,
That's I remember I used to watch all this stuff. There was there were like a lot of those sort of shows. There was another show that back in the '80s, things like laser tag and all that sort of stuff had their own phenomenon in real life. And then
yeah,
there was like a knockoff of laser tag that ended up having their own show as well, because there was a laser tag cartoon called Laser Tag Academy that was on NBC, and then a syndicated show which was like more like weird puppets and fighters using the photon things. It was like a lot cheesier looking. That I cannot. I remember. All I remember is the fact is like they would do their commercial breaks and they would showcase one of the characters going, and the light shines, and that's how it goes. I only watched a few episodes, but I've now we're jogging all this stuff. Going, I have these memories of these weird TV shows. Anyway, I
yeah.
hope you guys enjoyed watching the show, and hopefully we jog some memories of some of this stuff. Uh, and then hopefully just some fun stuff about kid shows and whatnot, because it's just fun to talk about and just revisit youth like that. But let's get some let's get some plugs out of the way. What you got anything going on, Scaps?
Um. Oh man, the name escapes me right now. But a friend of mine is doing a live stream, and I'll get all the information and all that, and I'll put it out there. But it'll be on Wednesday, and I'm doing a small segment called "Happy News from a Sad Clown." So yeah, just read some funny stories on there, and then Saturday, you know, got something going on with you, and that's really all I've got. So if you want to finish that off, because I don't have a guest to promote just yet, but I am
Oh yeah.
talking to somebody right now.
That's true. Yeah, well, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, you are. You're talking to me, but yeah, I know what you mean. No, you got somebody. You're trying to get somebody. Yeah, so, all right.
Mhm.
So yeah, for my plugs this week. So Wednesday, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the Cabin Fever live stream, is the Devil's Hour, it's my weekly variety hour and all sorts of weird shit I like to broadcast that I find from the internet. The artists I'm going to be promoting this week. I've got the Viagra Boys, which has a new album they're just dropping now. The Ninja Sex Party, which is another really awesome band that has a new album that's just dropping. And then last but not least is I actually got in contact with a circus strongman from England,
Nice.
who his name is Titan, and I've got his stuff going on as well. Um, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. So like something new, like it's gonna, yeah, it's like all right, cool, it's like something new and crazy, especially from like somebody like overseas. So I'm really
Mm.
excited about that. He's a really nice guy. I've already got his video. It's an amazing guy. Good stuff like that. Then Saturday for the G Spot, I'm going to be doing a talk show this week, and I'm talking with Remy D, who is a burlesque performer and cosplayer from out of the New Orleans area, who's starting some new stuff up now. So we're going to talk about that stuff. I've known her for years, so it'd be cool to play catch up and then talk about her stuff and things like that. And then next week for us, right here in Gaffing the Truth, oh boy, oh boy, this is gonna be a fun one because so the inauguration is next Wednesday, which is the 20th, and so at the time when we scheduled this, for the record, we scheduled what we were going to be talking about before the shit that happened last week.
Yeah, because
Uh,
we talked the fourth when we last week when we talked about snow monsters, and then that happened.
we
What?
talked about because we schedule our stuff like basically it's like all right, cool, it's the last month, the week of the month, let's talk about what we're going to do. And so like 2 weeks ago we said all right, what do you want to do this month, and that's what we did. We're talking about fucking QAnon next week.
Oh my god.
So I'm just gonna be for the record that I don't know how long we're gonna run this show because there's so much shit, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna be ordering probably more liquor, and it's gonna
Yeah.
get.
We'll see about having a guest. We did talk about somebody, but I don't want to say if I haven't heard back from
Oh
them on
yeah,
that.
I think yeah, because that'd be fun too.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, it's got to be like I had briefly entertained. Oh yeah, cool. Let's bring out so. I go, nope, nope. They're on board for all that stuff, and I no, I don't want. I want somebody who can at least join in on the fun rather than making fun of.
Mhm.
Anyway, so that's what we're going to be talking next week. We're going to be talking QAnon bullshit, and probably a lot about the weird shit that happened past Wednesday too, because that all falls in line. But then we'll talk about other stuff. We'll talk about fucking Wayfair. We'll talk about fucking Pizzagate. We'll fucking talk about the
It
Q shaman.
it just like spider webs out into everything. It's fucking crazy.
And it's amazing that people believe this shit. So of course we got to talk about it. And because
Oh,
it's all around it, like, the other thing is like usually when we say when we want to talk about something that's kind of fun to talk about, the QAnon stuff is shit crazy. So it's okay to talk about it. Like, yeah, there's some dark shit's coming out of it, but the reason it's dark, I don't know why they get to that point, because why do people believe this shit? I don't know. Anyway, you guys be safe, be cool, be groovy. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, keep drinking.